So, hello. I recently decided that I was unhappy at my job. So, like any sane person, I put a 30-day notice and decided I would walk across America from Los Angeles to Daytona Beach, Florida. Part of my trip is for personal reasons, of course. I want to find out who I am as a person and what truly makes me happy in life. Well, another big reason of doing this trip is that I want to raise awareness for mental health illness, something I've struggled with my entire life. I assumed everyone would think I was crazy, but the reaction has been the complete opposite. I've received support from my entire family and friends, and even strangers that just happened to see my page shared on Facebook and donated to my cause. So far, I've raised $2,300 in a little over 4 days. My end goal, besides surviving, is to write a book about my travels that nobody will read. I've received very interesting questions from some people so far, so I figured I'd open it up to something awful. I'm departing for Los Angeles on the 14th of May.
That's our focus for this episode, a something awful goon called Muerte. This is another infamous goon story, and it's a pretty good one. Muerte's big idea is to raise awareness for mental illness, in particular bipolar, but also just a gestalt sense of mental illness, and to get on TV for doing so, which I don't like. We'll get into that more soon. I'm Stephanie Boulding, and this is Ephemera. For now, Muerte takes some questions from SA Goons.
This seems really interesting to me, though I'm not sure how feasible it is. Have you ever hiked for more than a week straight? How much gear will you be carrying? Are you planning on camping outside, or would you be sleeping in motels, etc.?
It is absolutely feasible. I'm following a similar route that Hobo Nick took from Florida to California. I have a 75-liter pack, and all of my gear is extra lightweight. I'll also be pushing a cart for at least the desert portion of the trip to carry water and extra food when I need it. I'll be stealth camping most of the trip, as I want to get the full experience.
That looks like a pack you'd take for a camping excursion lasting a couple of days, maybe a week. Also, there is literally no way the OP is physically capable of doing this. I knew someone who planned to hike the Americas Trail, and he spent 6 months getting in shape, talking to people who'd done it, working out where he'd stop and when, etc. It's less a personal quest than someone who's gone manic and is making a ton of impulse decisions.
There is a substantial chance that you will die if you try and do this, because you're planning around best case scenarios, not worst.
Sorry, but you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not looking for people to talk me out of it. It is happening, no matter what. I thought people would be interested in this. I have planned for every scenario, and you would know that if you ask questions rather than just assume.
I don't know, ma'am. At least consider doing this on a bicycle.
I do not wish to do this on a bicycle. That is still moving too fast. I want to give people who may be passing by an opportunity to meet me and to get to know what I'm doing. If I get splattered by a car, I guess that's the chance that I take. I want to believe in human kindness again, and I hope that if I am seriously injured, I'll receive the assistance I need.
Muerte's packing isn't the only disaster here. His cart is just a bicycle trailer. He has no idea how much water he needs, and his planned route takes him through the Texas and Arizona desert in August, which might literally be suicide to walk in. I think his original path literally takes him through Death Valley. Goons finally talk him into taking a more sensible route, repeatedly suggesting that he try to walk the American Discovery Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail, two established and well-regarded cross-country hiking paths that cut all the way across the continent. Muerte relents for the first time in the thread.
So I'm taking the American Discovery Trail to St. Louis and then planning a route down to Florida. It will take longer, but be much less hassle, I've determined. If I don't attempt it, then I will be homeless, as my lease ends on the 15th and my last day of work is the 14th. Either way, I guess you'll get an interesting story.
Muerte's packing continues to be a disaster, though. He insists on not bringing a camping stove. A decision that's so absurd, that so many goons pile on about, that he feels he has to defend himself.
I've survived until the age of 26, and I've never cooked a single thing on a stove. Actually, I've cooked macaroni before. It's not about not knowing how to cook. It's about I'm a very picky eater, and I've literally lived on pizza, hamburgers, hot wings, and chips my entire life. I'm sure you think I'm exaggerating, but the people who know me would attest to this statement. Stop acting like a dipshit. I can pick up a stove at any point if I decide I want one. Just don't want one.
Goons make fun of him again because of course they do. Muerte ignores them and talks about how he has a spot on his hometown's radio station to promote his walk, which he's pretty excited.
It's time to try something new. Each day that I'm out on that trail, no matter how bad, will be better than sitting in a cubicle answering emails, wasting my life away behind a desk.
He then proceeds to discuss a violent fantasy of escalating the situation if someone breaks into his tent to attack him, and insults a goon for not being as good at going outdoors as he is, which is really ironic, as we'll see. Things are not going well, and Muerte soon abandons his thread for a private Facebook group of friends and family. This group, for the rest of the story, will remain absolutely 100% positive and encouraging, no matter what. Just remember that.
Well, this certainly blew up. I'm closing the thread. Feel free to make me a new one to watch me fail.
Fortunately, a couple of goons have infiltrated his Facebook group very quietly. And it's through them that we have the rest of this story. And personally, I'm quite glad for that, because this, dear listeners, is where it starts getting really good. Despite saying that he would leave on Friday the 15th and have his last day of work on the 14th, Muerte up and goes 2 days earlier on the 13th of May, 2015. He starts by driving to San Francisco, where he has family who are going to see him off on his trip. He stays the night and the next, and in fact leaves on the 16th, a Saturday, when he begins his hike across America on the Coast Trail, north of San Francisco. About 10 kilometers into the hike, Muerte's little bicycle cart breaks. He posts an image to Facebook, captioned, 6 miles in, RIP cart. But the break is actually an... Okay, so you folks know the kind of bicycle cart I mean, right? For kids or dogs, and it has 2 big wheels and a bar that it's towed with from behind your bike, and there's a little wheel underneath the bar so that the bar doesn't drag on the street. Muerte broke that wheel, and even though his cart would still work if he lifted the axle and pulled it like he's supposed to, but since he insists on pushing it and bearing all the weight, which is a fair bit of weight, he's got his water, he's got his equipment, all down on that tiny little wheel, he just abandons it on the trail, along with his water, for some unsuspecting park ranger to find. Littering is an extreme no-no in this kind of hiking context, and what Muerte has done is so much worse. Muerte uploads a photo of a handwritten note on his own Facebook page. He explains the cart situation in his own words and writes up his day.
May 16th, 2015.
Some of the trails are uneven, and it's making it difficult with the cart. The front wheel cracked while ascending a difficult hill, and it has made the last 5 miles or so extremely difficult. I about 1.5 miles from the camp at Glen, where I plan to ditch my cart. It feels as though the cart has slowed me greatly. I feel it'll be able to cover more ground without it. I've met some fantastic people on the trail already, and have had much interest in what I'm doing. The landscape is wonderful, and I'm in great spirits. So, I'm going to have some dinner and call it a night. Although it is only 5:48, I'm exhausted from pushing a cart with a broken wheel. Total miles today, 10.
He does the same Sharpie scrawl photo upload thing the next day, too.
May 17th, 2015.
I woke up today knowing the cart was no longer a viable option. I tried to reach a road where I could signal a ranger to pick it up, but the cart became immovable. I saved as much as I could, but will need to lighten my load again tomorrow. I was able to hike through some amazing woods and prairie. Total miles today, 15.5.
On the 18th, he returns to making regular-ass text posts on Facebook, like with a keyboard.
May 18th, 2015.
Quite exhausted. I'm somewhere on the Bolinas Ridge Trail, and it has been nothing but uphill. The topography map shows it should be a level elevation, but it is not. I just stopped to chat with some bikers, and they informed me it's still nothing but uphill for some time. My left knee is aching quite a bit, but I'm trying to rest when I need it and staying positive. It's about 45 degrees up here, which feels great while hiking. Still in good spirits, even with the struggles. Whew.
Listeners, Muerte does not have a topographical map. He believes he does, and that's why he assumed a mountain bike trail with 1,000 feet of climb would be flat. But he doesn't have the right kind of map. It's a fundamental failure to prepare for the cross-country hike he's allegedly trying to do. Muerte keeps posting photos and status updates on the 18th. He eventually reaches a ranger station he's been headed to.
I burst into tears when I reached the ranger station. It was a very long uphill hike through blinding fog.
That day, he walks another 10.5 miles, making his total 36 miles in 3 days. He intends to take another rest day like he did with his San Francisco relatives at the ranger station, and his journal entry for the 19th reflects that.
May 19th, 2015.
Took a rest day at the Pantol Ranger Station. Filled up on food, and I found an outlet to charge my phone. Campers stared at me, probably wondering why some guy was wrapped in a blanket atop the hill staring down on them. The station also has some garbage cans, making it easier to lighten my pack even more. It also has clean water to refill my pack. The wind doesn't stop blowing here at the elevation of 1,600 feet. Can't wait to hit the trail tomorrow and hopefully reach the Golden Gate Bridge. Total miles today, 0.
Despite taking an extra rest day at the ranger station, oh, those poor rangers, Muerte is still planning to walk 20 miles a day, something he's maybe literally never done before. His actual pace works out to 12 miles a day, and 10 to 15 might be a more reasonable target. It's certainly the pace goons wanted him to shoot for. But that doesn't really matter, for reasons that will become clear in Muerte's next and final letter. Unlike the previous letters written in marker on a notebook, photographed, and uploaded to Facebook, this one is a Facebook text post. It's also his longest dispatch.
Please read. Well, today is possibly one of the most disappointing days of my life. I woke up at 7 a.m. ready to hit the trail and make an 8-mile trek to the Golden Gate Bridge. I walked down to the bathroom to freshen up and I just felt off balance. I figured I had a bad night's sleep or something, and the next thing I know, my entire left side of my body went limp and I fainted on the steps. Some hikers nearby saw me and I said that I looked awful and helped me get an Uber ride back to my aunt's. For the first time in 4 days, I was able to look at my body, and it isn't good. My hips are literally black and blue, and I'm constantly lightheaded. I have other issues that aren't PG as well. Then, to top my day off, I went to get some food in my stomach, and my car overheated and popped coolest and smoke all over the place. I'm so disappointed in myself and the fact that I let everyone down. I know people were counting on me and backed me with donations and support. After having time to think about it, once I lost my cart, my mission was kinda lost. No longer would people stop to talk to me or take interest in what I was doing. To them, I was just another hiker. Maybe it is best to take a more direct approach to helping people. I don't plan to stop hiking or in my goal of raising awareness and money for mental health. What the last 5 days have taught me is invaluable, and I'm going to start treating my body right, and I really want to take a little time off every year to do section hikes. I wanted this badly enough I quit my job and left everything behind. I own just the clothes on my back, some camping supplies, and a broken car. Words can't describe how awful I feel right now. I'm going to start my own foundation that shows people who struggle the joys of camping and how it can refresh the human spirit. Please do not leave negative comments. I've had a very emotional and exhausting day as it is. Once again, I'm sorry for letting you all down. I'm not giving up though.
And with this, Muerte ends his fateful walk across the country.
He's admitting to crying after walking up a hill in the Bay Area fog that a hiking trail site called A Moderate Trail and one of the best trails around San Francisco to walk your dog.
I'm not giving up, though, says man in the literal process of giving up at that exact moment.
4 fucking days, everyone. I hope this thread is a lesson to the devastation that is bipolar and helps with some awareness, at least. God damn, what a horrible thing.
Obviously, we can all laugh at the stubborn fool with the impossible goal. Let's do that now. But it wouldn't be an ephemera if I just pointed and laughed and moved on. The show has talked previously a couple times about mentally unwell people deciding to uproot their lives and make grand, dramatic gestures. It's something I recognize, but it's not something I recognize fondly. The anonymous Wizard Chan poster I decided to call Cain only walked for 2 days before breaking down and buying a cheap bicycle. Muerte's need to talk to other people on the trail while hiking, and not just, at the end of the day like a normal hiker would, is such a pathetically transparent need to justify himself and his decisions, and I think it doomed him from the start. He fancies himself, I think, as some kind of adventurer, but again is totally unaware that he needs to eat food if he's been exercising. All he eats one day after hiking more than he's ever hiked in his life is just some raisins and peanuts, which I guess is a tolerable mid-hike snack, but experienced hikers on the same trail are loading up with gas station honey buns, mac and cheese, and other calorically dense foods. When he collapses at the Pantall Ranger Station, it's because he's absolutely uninformed about how to feed his body, and he sticks around for a rest day rather than eating the calories he needs to recover. So I have to call it like I see it, and I'm going to say that this really sounds like a manic episode to me, just like Cain's decision to fly to Japan did. Muerte seems to have spent more energy pre-departure on tweeting at the Ellen Show, hoping they'll cover him, begging Burger King to sponsor his hike, and smugly ignoring all the goons giving him advice. He could have used that time to learn to cook, to look up the trail. This confirms to me that it's about optics, about being perceived to do something meaningful and heroic. I hate that, by the way. I just hate it. Muerte's hero is a guy called Hobo Nick, who allegedly made a similar cross-country hike on foot. Hobo Nick was exactly the kind of guy you're already thinking of when you hear the name Hobo Nick, and the rumors are that his parents tried very hard to keep him alive while he was doing it. Hobo Nick describes lots of instances of trail magic, which is a real hiking term for random and unsolicited acts of kindness to long-distance hikers.
It seriously feels like my mom called a bunch of people along my route and hired them to help me,
he told an interviewer, explaining that multiple times cars stopped along the road to talk to him and give him $100 bills. Trail magic is real, but man, some of Hobo Nick's anecdotes sound just a little too convenient for me to trust. But Hobo Nick, who set out with no equipment and no money, lived an arduous life for the half a year he was on the trail. He dumpster dived for food and describes going hungry for days. I don't think Muerte could pull that off. I think what appeals to me most, storytelling-wise, about this sort of physical, personal journey, motivated by mental illness, is the absolute unwavering determination it takes, as well as the amount of documentation that these people upload of their foolishness. Cain wanted to watch the world end from a little boat. Muerte wanted to raise awareness for nebulously defined mental health. In all of his posts on Something Awful, one of them stands out to me. Finally helps me understand his motivation.
I've never had time to think about what I want to do or what kind of job I want. I've always taken the highest paying job I can find and worked it to support the lifestyle I wanted at the time. I want to slow my life down for a bit, stop working 60 to 70 hour weeks, and enjoy life for a bit.
None of Muerte's motivation means he has to do this hike. He works 70-hour weeks at jobs he doesn't care about. Of course he's fucking depressed. But he seesaws all the way in the opposite direction, ending his lease and quitting his job to walk to Florida. If he found a hobby, pursued his passions, surely that would be better for him than this 4-day death march. If he doesn't even know how to cook, he could learn to cook. When Muerte collapses on the trail, 2 hikers see him and help him hire an Uber to go home in. But this human connection, the thing this has all been for, this moment of kindness and common spirit with other hikers seems to totally pass him by. And it only rates half a sentence in his journal. I can't tell if I feel contempt or pity. By the way, Muerte keeps the $3,500 he raised. I think that says it all.
1, 2, 3, 4. I wanted to die in the desert. I planned it for 20 years, along with my God and my conscience. Not a sky pilot near. I meant what I said when I doped it. It threw a spell over me, yeah, with the mesas, the sand, and the deadness of the place I wanted to be. Now I've roamed and I've traveled all over. I've stood on the brink of hell. I wooed it, I coaxed it, I fought it, but I was caught in its deadly spell.
Audio engineering for Ephemera is provided by the generous and wonderful Miguel Tanhi. If you like Ephemera and want it to thrive, consider supporting the show on Patreon. Patronage comes with a few hours of bonus content, the right to perform a voice for the show, and PDF versions of my 2 zines. There's more details in the show notes. This month, I'm sending hiking boot emoji out to Julio P., Robin H., Heather T., Bernard S., Aiden D., Ben M., Al-O., Eric, Homo Vulgaris, Siberian Pine Hardwood, Meredith H., Discourse Stu, Matthew B., Drew K., Brady B, Alice, Kevin W, Tanhi Factory, and my good friend Franklin West. My sincere thanks to all of my patrons. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do the amount of research that makes Ephemera as good as it is. And, of course, my thanks to you for listening.
Now this life that I lead ain't worth a while. I play this ace up my sleeve. It's poison, quick stuff, St. Peter. Adios to the world I lay. I just throw my old hide in the cactus, out where the desert wind moans. I wanted to die in the desert, let them buzzards beg over my bones.
My name is Amanda, and I'm walking across the United States. A year ago, I moved to Utah to work as a wilderness therapy guide. I learned the physical and mental skills of outdoor survival, but more importantly, I learned how to grow as an individual.